Elvis Presley's final 24 hours were filled with haunting moments and eerie events, which have since been the subject of speculation and intrigue. While there are many reasons why these final moments remain so unsettling, perhaps the most chilling aspect of those hours were the ominous phone calls Elvis made. In one call he said,
"I might not make it tonight. Don't try stop anything that happens, you son of a bitch. And if you tell Priscilla anything, I'll get you myself."
The tone of these calls grows more disturbing as the day progresses. But let's take a step back and start at the beginning, looking at how Elvis Presley spent his final day. On August 15, 1977, Elvis was at his famous Graceland mansion in Memphis, Tennessee. He was surrounded by his fiancée, Ginger Alden, and members of the Memphis Mafia, the loyal group of friends and bodyguards who had been with him throughout much of his career. These men and women had witnessed Elvis's rise to stardom, his excesses, his struggles, and had remained at his side even in his more turbulent times. That evening, Elvis seemed to be in relatively good spirits, spending the afternoon doing what he loved, playing the piano, enjoying a game of racquetball, and preparing for his upcoming tour. While it seemed like just another day, there were signs that Elvis was far from being his usual self. Over the past few years, his health had been deteriorating due to a combination of stress, an intense work schedule, and unfortunately, his abuse of prescription medication. Elvis had become increasingly reliant on painkillers and sleeping aids to manage the physical and emotional toll of his career. Many of those closest to him had grown concerned about his well-being, but no one could have predicted just how quickly everything would unravel. Around 4 p.m. on August 15th, Elvis woke up at Graceland after a nap. He spent time with his fiancée, Ginger, and his daughter, Lisa Marie, though she often stayed at the house and Elvis had requested that Ginger move in with him, an invitation she ultimately declined. Ginger later recalled how Elvis respected her decision, even though he was disappointed by it. Despite their close relationship, the couple had a somewhat complicated dynamic, as Elvis's constant demands for attention, affection, and companionship left little room for Ginger to have her own independence. Later that evening, Elvis and Ginger made a trip to see his dentist, Dr. Lester Hoffman. Elvis had been struggling with dental issues for some time and his pain had been worsening. As usual, his personal team of doctors and medical professionals were always on hand, providing him with painkillers, sleep aids, and other medications to help him cope with the physical toll of his demanding lifestyle. But these medications only seemed to make things worse, leading to a vicious cycle of dependence and overdose. At around 2:30 a.m. on August 16th, Elvis and Ginger returned to Graceland. As they passed through the gates, Elvis waved to fans who had gathered outside to catch a glimpse of the king. One of them took a photo of Elvis, marking the last known image of him alive. In the photo, Elvis is dressed in a blue shirt and black jacket, with large sunglasses covering his eyes despite the late hour. To the casual observer, he appeared to be the same vibrant star who had ruled the music world for over 2 decades. But behind those sunglasses, Elvis was struggling in ways no one could fully understand. Around 2:15 a.m., Elvis made a phone call to Dr. Nick, his personal physician. He requested more painkillers to help ease the aches and discomfort he was feeling. Dr. Nick, who had been prescribing medication to Elvis for years, obliged and sent him a prescription for 6 deloaded tablets. Elvis's stepbrother, Ricky Stanley, was dispatched to pick them up from the pharmacy. At this point, Elvis was in desperate need of relief, but what he didn't realize was that his dependence on these substances was slowly killing him. After taking the medication, Elvis continued to try to keep his mind off his mounting issues by inviting his cousins, Billy and Joe, over for a late-night game of racquetball. It wasn't unusual for Elvis to entertain guests at all hours of the night. In fact, everyone around him, whether they were family, friends, or employees, was either paid by Elvis or benefiting from his generosity in some way. Despite the late hour and the heavy rain outside, Elvis insisted they play. But when his cousins hesitated to play in the rain, Elvis did something that would astonish everyone in the room. He raised his hands to the sky and commanded, "Rain, be gone," and miraculously the rain stopped. The group then moved to the piano, where Elvis played a few gospel songs before singing "Blue Eyes, Crying in the Rain." This impromptu performance was just another example of Elvis's passion for music, but it was also a sign of how much he craved companionship, attention, and an escape from his inner turmoil. By 5 a.m., Elvis and Ginger retreated to the bedroom, where Elvis followed his prescribed medication regimen once again in an attempt to fall asleep. However, sleep was elusive. He had a show scheduled in Portland, Maine later that evening, and he desperately needed rest before performing. But despite taking more pills, he still couldn't get comfortable. His dependence on medication had become so extreme that it was affecting his ability to function. Elvis's medication had long ceased being a way to treat an illness and had become a way of life for him. At 7 a.m., Elvis took yet another dose of pills, hoping to rest before the show. He was exhausted from the relentless touring schedule, but his physical and mental state were both deteriorating rapidly. At 8 a.m., Elvis called Ricky again asking for more medication, but Ricky was unavailable. Frustrated, Elvis reached out to his aunt, Delta Mae Biggs, and asked her to call Dr. Nick. After some hesitation, Nurse Henley finally provided Elvis with a third smaller packet of pills, which contained Valium and other medications meant to help him sleep. Around 9:30 a.m., Elvis informed Ginger that he was going to the bathroom. He was wearing gold pajamas and carrying a book titled Scientific Search for the Face of Jesus. This was not an uncommon scene. Elvis had been known to struggle with severe constipation, and he often spent hours in the bathroom trying to find relief. Ginger later admitted that she had warned him not to take it too far, but he reassured her, saying, "I won't." Unfortunately, those would be his final words. By 2 p.m. that afternoon, Ginger woke up and noticed that Elvis was missing from their bed. At first, she thought nothing of it, but after getting dressed and preparing for the day, she went to search for him. When she entered the bathroom, she found Elvis lying on the floor, unresponsive. At first, Ginger thought he had simply fallen and hit his head, but as she checked on him, it became evident that something far worse had happened. Elvis wasn't breathing, and it was clear that he had passed away. In shock, Ginger immediately called for help. Alada, who was in charge of the afternoon shift at Graceland, rushed to the scene. Ginger also contacted the paramedics, and soon an ambulance was on its way. Elvis's father, Vernon Presley, was notified and came to the scene, trying to make sense of the tragic events unfolding in front of him. Emergency responders arrived at Graceland at 2:33 p.m. and quickly transported Elvis to Baptist Memorial Hospital. But by the time they reached the hospital, it was too late. Elvis Presley was officially declared dead at 3:30 p.m. at the age of 42. The cause of death was later determined to be a heart attack, but many believed the stress on his body from his addiction to prescription drugs played a significant role. News of Elvis's death quickly spread across the globe, shocking fans and the music world alike. For millions of people, the king of rock and roll had been a symbol of greatness, a larger-than-life figure who had redefined music, culture, and entertainment. Fans from all walks of life, from Memphis to Moscow, mourned his passing. As one fan put it, whether you're black or white, country or city, young or old, Elvis Presley will always be the king. Despite his untimely death, Elvis's legacy endures. His music, his personality, and his influence on pop culture continue to inspire generations. He left behind an unparalleled catalog of songs and performances, making him one of the most influential figures in music history. His life, marked by both incredible success and personal struggles, is a reminder of the complex and sometimes tragic nature of fame. Elvis Presley may have left this world too soon, but his impact remains. His story is one of extraordinary talent, unfulfilled potential, and a lasting legacy that continues to resonate with fans and artists around the world. The King may have left us in 1977, but his music, his charisma, and his memory live on forever. Were you a fan of Elvis Presley? What's your favorite song or moment from his incredible career? We'd love to hear from you in the comments below.